Outreach Committee meeting, October 29th, 2025. The usual, I'm pretty sure everyone knows why they're here. Part of Confidential Computing Consortium, organization promoting protection of data in use, the antitrust policy, very important when competing companies are working in collaboration on various projects. So check out the antitrust policy, learn it, know it, live it. Any first timers or new members amongst us today? Isaac, I think you've been here before.
I'm a second time, yes.
Second timer. And
Yes.
Julian,
Yeah, I've been missing for the last few times, but
but a repeat customer. And Alex,
I'm from Agile Systems. Actually, I need to update my name here.
okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Of course, the management team here. Please go ahead and get in touch with us if you have any questions. The membership, I do not think we have quorum today. That does not impede us in any way, but I don't think we do have quorum today.
No, we don't.
Okay. So we're gonna go over a few things today. Rachel, do you want to jump ahead to do the budget thing first? Because I know you've got to go at the bottom of the hour.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
So
And then,
let's.
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
It's okay. We'll, okay. Go ahead. Just tell me where to go. First slide here.
Yeah. So just moving on to next slide. So those are just what we reviewed last time. So if you move on to next slide, in a slide after. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mike. So this is what we previously discussed, and that was already being socialized with Outreach Committee. What I'm bringing today because there was some feedback on there's possibility of further cutting the budget. So I wanted to bring up a couple proposals and really kind of to bring Plan A to Plan B to make sure that we, in consideration of all the different scenarios. So what was previously proposed for 2026 budget is a budget ask of 2050K, and I think we're still aiming towards that because that's recommended approach. So this is for the proposal A, proposal 1 for 2026. This is a support a measure transition from event sponsorships towards digital marketing while still retaining some selective event participation as a transition phase that continues to provide tangible value. So looking at those items here, as you can see for proposal 1, we are for the 250K budget ask for 2026, we're considering to retain OC3 because it has historically generated very meaningful engagement and some leads for members at a relatively modest cost. And also for the CC Summit and continued participation can also be meaningful. And for all those tiers, and there are multiple levels, so we could possibly consider participating at a reduced rate. So CCC is was platinum sponsor for this year. We could further consider like gold or silver levels. With still retain our community engagement visibility without significant additional expenditure. So RSAC was proposed to be removed because it's a very high cost and with a relatively limited return. We only had a booth and there's not a talk and then any of the other sessions. And then the lowest sponsorship was unfortunately the one we've had in the past is very expensive again. And for OSFF, and then we also consider to reduce our sponsorship significantly and and really kind of focused on brand recognition, and that's aligned with digital marketing. So that's the proposal 1 of what we recommend. And what I've added is a more aggressive proposal just to prepare for some more aggressive budget cutting, and which is unlikely, but just wanted to put this on your radar. So the proposal 2 basically would move entirely away from events to purely focused on digital marketing. So there's higher focus level on the digital marketing budget, and overall really kind of controlled at 200,000 budget ask. And so if you can see the digital marketing line item, currently we have no budget at all allocated for digital marketing. And going towards 2026, we're expecting to allocate additional 100,000 to support all those digital marketing efforts. And then if we wanted to go more aggressively on the digital marketing, we can allocate additional 50K on that. So that's the proposal. Basically, there's no change on the proposal, just a more of detailed breakdown and also adding a additional plan B in preparation of aggressive budget cut. So that's the budget proposal. And then I'll hand over to Dan. And then so one thing that we would like to really can nail down for the next couple weeks and until next outreach meeting is to really think about how we want to come up with the content strategy and what are some of the marketing line items that we can allocate the proposed digital marketing budget to. So I'll hand over to Dan, and Dan is director of marketing at Linux Foundation, and he and Angela, they have different tiers of marketing proposal and options to support outreach efforts. So he will give a presentation of different options, and for members, for all of us to think about how we can potentially align some of those services to better support our digital marketing efforts going forward.
Sorry, before we go into the proposal, so just sorry, on the digital marketing, I'm very concerned about proposal 2, where there's no event, especially for the CC Summit. We're putting 0 on all events. That's I don't think that's a viable option personally. So
I think I like it. I like it because it dials up the contrast, and it does. I think it provoked. I was feeling the same reaction. Similar.
Yeah, but well, but if the GP, if they say, okay, well, we're good, like, let's not, and when if that's their decision, that's basically that. If like, we have to be careful with what we. Once you propose something and they say yes, you can't like. I mean, we can go back,
Yeah.
but obviously, I'm just cautious with that. So, I would say we should be mindful of that. So, I get the point
Well-
about the contrast, but but also in terms of process, how is this like? Are we voting on this in the outreach committee before it goes to the GB, or like I'm just want to understand a little bit how what are we doing here?
So the proposal 1 was already approved by the outreach committee, and it was already brought to the governing board. So likely
Okay.
we're going to go with the proposal 1, and there was some
Okay.
feedback. The proposal 2 is really, like I mentioned, unlikely to implement, and mostly just kind of providing that like really aggressive approach of like no events, really kind of purely moving from event sponsorship to like purely digital marketing, like more like futuristic and then alternative approach if like budget is cut drastically, right? And it's still unlikely the scenario, and it will still probably do some mix of like reduced sponsorship tiers and instead of like entirely moving away from those sponsors.
Can I request the following? If the GP says no, you have to go lower than 250, and let's say to 200, before we go with proposal 2, to make sure we are discussing it here in the outreach committee. I just personally, I would not assume this is like I'm not comfortable with proposal 2. So if we are asked to go even lower than 250, I would like to discuss that here first.
I'll second that with Ab's proposal. I think one of the aspects that we should discuss, which the difference between 1 and 2 really makes clear is, I think what you're expressing is I'm uncomfortable having no physical presence in the world and doing no physical outreach. And I think I feel that same discomfort. My question is the place to feel that basically put our physical presence out there, is it OC3 and CC Summit? And here is my argument, which is the category of confidential computing is extremely well represented at those two events. And it's preaching to the choir. And our reason, I'm concerned that our reasons for going for dedicating resource to that is FOMO, right? It's fear of missing out. We just, everybody's there. How can we not be there? Instead of our motivation being, I need to go find the uninitiated and convert them, or the interested and reel them in even more. So if we are going to go for a more limited, if we are going to dedicate some of the budget to events, do we want to go for events that are more like, the Pet Summit North America or Pet Summit Europe, or even
So-
OSFF?
So my it's not even a counter argument. I'm actually kind of we're discussing here, but my two things. I think there are conversations that already took place. At least one meeting, I shouldn't say. It's with Opaque, right? And even actually, edges have been invited, and a couple of members here, not in the context of CCC, but this is Opaque how they wanted to improve like the conference. So, and I remember one of the discussions we had with them was we have to be careful. Like there was a lot of feedback around a lot of the content, which understandably because that's the world we live in. Like being careful not this CC Summit becoming another AI, conference
Mhm.
that talks about confidential computing. It should be the other way around. Right? It's like confidential computing talking about like how it fits with AI. That's one of the aspects. And one of the other elements that we discussed with, at least with feedback from what I recall on that call, I don't know if somebody from Opaque is on the call here, was that how we bring categories or guests and having panels that are not from the usual suspects of CC or CCC, right? So to me, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there are two ways to go. It's either we CCC go to other conferences and make presence there, or and again, either CC Summit or C3, I'm not here to advocate for one over the other, but for the sake of argument, let's say the CC Summit, I think there's also a way of opening up that conference and really pushing for more uninitiated kind of audiences to join, at least decision makers or from different industry and verticals. I think that conversation took and Opaque sounded very open to that feedback. That's one way to address it as well, to open up to
Yeah.
not outside of CC community, the usual
So,
CC community.
So let's do this. I am 100% aligned with you, Ab, that we need to. I think this is a worthy topic of discussion, and
Yep.
we should have a good, rigorous debate on how we want to play this one. In the interest of time today, let's note that we need to have this discussion, and Rachel, I think the feedback is noted that zero physical presence causes discomfort among several of the key members, and so we want to reevaluate that. If we do get a cut from, say, 250 to 200, we'd like to have a discussion about the mix within that. I don't think we've definitely said, hey, we're going to completely shift back to events, but I think we're saying that maybe the 100% shift that you're showing here to digital marketing might be a little extreme.
Yeah, sounds good. Really
Yeah.
appreciate the feedback. I've noted down.
Yeah, that works. Let's move with the agenda. I didn't want to derail
Okay.
the agenda
No,
here,
no,
but
I was feeling the same discomfort, and it's a good debate. Rachel, do we have more to talk about on budget?
So that's it. So now we
Okay.
would like to really kind of mention the details of digital marketing. So that would be dependent on the Dan's presentation. So really can
Yes.
evaluate Linux Foundation's marketing options and
Yeah,
content
so
strategy.
I can jump in now, and if I could take the screen share, that'll be easier, Mike.
Okay.
Perfect. So what I'm going to start with, just because I have a feeling most of this group doesn't even know exactly what we're doing currently at LF Marketing for CCC. So you can pretty much ignore that 77K at the top. Think of that as zero because that is already budgeted. It's separate from the outreach budget. That is what the governing board is paying for my support and Angela's support. So this is just to give you an idea of what the current standard plan is, including things like the monthly newsletter, management of the social channels, posting of the blogs and reports that the community puts together. There are a few things that, this is the standard program. No project is standard. So there's a few things that are different. Like normally we wouldn't be promoting multiple community events, whereas we do that for you folks. So I just want to kind of give you an idea of that's what the current support level is. And then from us, like the next support level would be another 50 grand, just to give you an idea of how that changes. It's adding things in like building of a proper strategic plan, more event promotion, persona mapping, more sales lead qualification, and dealing with pipeline stuff, a more detailed content strategy, working with the community to actually develop that content though, but being more hands-on there, running some webinars. Those are the sorts of things that would get added on. Now, all that being said, as much as I would love to say, give my team an extra $50,000, I actually don't strategically think that at this point in the CCC's life cycle where the project is at, that's probably the best use of your funds. So I think we're comfortable from our end recommending that you stay at where you're at right now. So I've got two things to essentially show you folks. Now, one is what I would personally love to see if the budget was there. I don't think it probably is, but I actually would love to see the CCC doing more PR and analyst relations, a proper media relations campaign, because I do think that this community and the projects have a great story to tell that would be of interest to the media, and that could lead to a significant increase in awareness by going out and proactively setting up media interviews, placing thought leadership articles, commenting on news stories that are relevant to the technologies that we're working with. The issue there is it would start at $120,000 for the year. So I don't know that the budget is there for that. But I did want to throw it out there because I think I would be remiss if I didn't at least flag that because I just personally, from my 20 plus years experience in tech marketing, think that this community is a great candidate for that sort of campaign. And yes, Mike, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Is the 10K a month, is that like a mandatory 12-month subscription, or is that
Yes.
something that we could do we could do month by month? You say we do 2 months on, 2 months off, something like that.
No, we won't do that just because we have to staff based on retainer levels. And so we don't have there's no slack on the team. And so we have to hire and maintain a staff based on annual retainers. So that is a minimum and it is for 12 months.
What
So
is exactly included in
oh, sorry.
that PR
Go ahead.
plan? Yeah. So what
Oh,
is
let me
the
put it back
exactly
up.
included? What are the items? Can you hear me okay, Dan?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Sorry, I was going to jump to a different deck to focus more on digital, but let me pull this back up. So yes, this is an addition to what you folks are already getting, and we're actually not using. That's something I want to talk about in the context, at least of the IDC report, because we do get 2 press releases a year, and I think that when that report is ready, we should do a press release about that. That's in the current scope, so nothing extra. But in addition to press releases, what this would add is actual, proactive pitching. So it's not my team. The PR department is a separate team. But we would get a PR director and a PR manager who would join, and they would be proactively going out and pushing the story. So they would be looking at journalists who are writing about confidential computing topics, pitching them to try to line up interviews. They would also work on putting together thought leadership articles and then going out to relevant news outlets to try to place those as bylines. It would either be to Mike or someone from this committee to really highlight and educate um, the broader audience about confidential computing topics. They proactively monitor the news for anything that's breaking, that's relevant, some sort of security breach or whatever that, this type of technology could have prevented, and then go out and proactively offer commentary on that. That's the sort of thing that's included.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. So then,
Hey,
I know
Dan,
time's
actually, I think
good.
that would be
Oh,
actually
please,
something
please,
that
go
would
ahead.
be just for next meeting. I think one of the things that would be interesting is like the services that we're already paying for, but we don't, I'd say that there are few of the Linux services that we're already paying for where we've got the throttle to the stops, right? Angela's beating us back saying, no, too many social posts, stop, too many blogs, stop, So I would say, I would be interested to say, where do we still have slack in our existing level of support that we can dial up? And then I think a lot of this becomes on top. We would be thinking about what services do we want to add on top of that. So I think that would be maybe helpful to understand where we are in terms of utilization of our existing plan.
Yeah, no, we can absolutely do kind of a scope review and happy to do that and put a slide together for the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Awesome, cool.
Just to quickly add on that, I think secondly what Mike is saying, I think the flow of content I think comes from the companies, the technical teams, the events that we do, and then once that those facts exist, then I think the comms team can thrive on those. But I think the bottleneck today is not necessarily the comms team itself, but these exact facts that we would likely need more support to also make it happen. But yeah, I think a study of the Slack can also inform those decisions.
Makes sense to me. Cool. And then I know that we're short on time with Rachel having to go soon, so let me just jump to this other deck, which Mike has seen previously, but I don't believe anyone else here has. Share this. So this was a proposal that our paid digital marketing team had put together previously. This was based on a $75,000 budget, so it is a little bit different than a 100 or 150 level, but it should give you a pretty good idea of what would be involved here. And again, this is a different team, so they would present it much more intelligently, I'm sure, than I would. But essentially, these are the types of activities that would be involved here. So putting together creative assets and then a multi-channel paid media strategy to promote those to a well-defined audience that we would that team would work closely with all of us to put together with the end objective of driving adoption and membership. So obviously, awareness building, engagement, and membership leads are those kind of three objective tiers. Based on that 75K budget, this is what our paid team has said they would expect to see based on their experience running these types of campaigns for other open source communities. In terms of 3.2 million impressions, about 25,000 clicks, 750 conversions, and an average CTR of 0.8%. There's more detail here on kind of the targeting strategy. This is pretty high level. I think that we would want to work with them closely to better define this. I don't think that these are bad necessarily, but I think that this is more of a general security rather than confidential computing specific audience that they've built here. But just to kind of give an idea of the types of stakeholders who could be targeted in this sort of campaign. It would be a multi-pronged campaign. So, looking at using things like LinkedIn content sponsorships, Reddit ads to build some awareness, educating through search ads, targeted display ads, and more technical subreddits, and then really doing sort of remarketing and high intent search to drive conversions. This is how they would recommend breaking down a $75,000 budget, 30% Google search, 35% LinkedIn, and 35% display in Reddit. And this is just a little bit more of how each of those channels works from a campaign perspective.
So, hey, Dan, what is the current view? I mean, in days of yore, one of the hot places to market were a lot of the places where IT pros would go for, help and kind of peer support. And I
Stack
want to say that
Overflow.
Stack Overflow and places like
Mhm.
that. Are those out of fashion now, or just not a fit for what the team thought the objective was at the time?
So I can say know of other project communities that have run display ads and targeted ads on those sorts of channels. And also our events team has tried that, and our training education team that produces training courses and certification exams. All of them have tried those and they have not converted well.
Got it. Okay,
So
thanks.
I have to drop shortly, but thank you so much for presenting this. Just curious, like we have a YouTube channel as well. Currently, it's only posting like videos. So, have you explored that as a potential avenue?
That's certainly something that they can do. I know other projects do that as well. So this is only, a very initial proposal, and that's the sort of thing that we can go to them with feedback and say, and I know from experience, YouTube sponsorships where you uh, um, pay to, have your video pop up sort of thing, are very cheap per impression.
And then, do you help with like content creation?
Oh, yes.
Like
Yeah, that's
like
included in this. Yeah.
okay, got it. That's awesome.
Yeah, the way that it works is that team takes 15% of the spend. So essentially, if we put 100,000 in, 85 would be spent with the actual networks, and that 15 would go to cover their costs of management and content creation.
Okay, great. So that's super helpful. That's all my questions. So I'll drop, but feel free to let me know if you need anything from my end.
Thank you, Rachel. So yeah, this is about at the end anyway. Again, basically what I just said, that we work with them on creative strategy, development, and messaging. And then this is just, their next steps, approving the budget and launching the campaigns.
Yeah, and this is the campaign, of course, I think is of limited duration. So I think we would have time to plan our surge of content that we're going to be promoting on this. And that's, I think that when I think about this as the things that are going to be challenging for the committee is this could go one of two ways. This could go, the community broadly rallies to, provide, content to be, included in the surge. Or one or two people wind up doing it all. And this, I think, I think if we have broad community planning or a broad community participation in something like this, it is going to, I think I think it could be wildly successful. It is going to be really hard if this falls on one or two people within the committee. So I think, if we opt into this as a group, everybody needs to understand, you are opting yourself in to be a content supplier. The other thing that I think that is still unsettled, certainly between myself and Mr. Bursell, is how we are going to handle basically content related to commercial products. Linux
Mike and I talked
Foundation.
about that this morning a little bit.
Okay. And I know he and I have different views. I do believe that there is a compromise position that is available. Anyway, fire away.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it on my end. The other thing that I will just say on this, kind of related to your question, Mike, about the PR campaigns with paid, it's a lot more flexible. So just because we budget 100K doesn't actually mean that you have to spend 100K. We can do a couple month trial spending a lower budget, say 5,000 a month, see what's performing, and then try to optimize based on that. But also, if we're seeing no results at all, we can scrap it and not
Yeah.
spend the rest of the money.
And I also think that when I think about what do I want out of the campaign, yes, I want the impressions and I want the engagements, but the thing that I would say I really want is a lasting channel to that person, so that they become a LinkedIn connection, or they become a YouTube channel subscriber, or a newsletter subscriber, or something like that. It's like, I think if we are having a successful engagement, that person is signed up to stay in touch with the CCC.
Absolutely. And we get to define what we want to call a conversion. That's part
Okay.
of the campaign strategy development as well. It doesn't have
All
to
right.
be they become a member. I actually would recommend against that, because then you're going to have a really bad conversion rate.
Yeah.
But something like that, downloading a paper, subscribing to the newsletter, those are the sorts of things that we would look to define.
Yeah, I think it would be, that's my view, is that if we are successful, I mean, we grow, if we say ran the campaign and we doubled or tripled our subscription rate on our, outreach channels, that's, I think, is, a great success.
Exactly.
Okay, outreach team, consider this. And that if we choose, I mean, I don't know if it's an if, but rather in 2026, when we go for a budget much more digital marketing oriented or content marketing oriented, this is the kind of infrastructure that we would be using to make that happen. And it is, the success of content marketing depends on the content. And so if we are producing great engaging content, we will have way better results. And producing content takes time, effort, and expertise. And the one or two, like me, I don't have the expertise in everyone's products. So it would be, or, Viewpoints would love to have more, keep a broad base of folks creating content. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, let's head back to the slides and some of the other things that we had to talk about. Okay, jobs board. Rianne, did you made some updates to the jobs board?
Yes. So we have been talking for a while with the members about changing to a service that was originally created by the CNCF, but it's being used by many open source projects now. It's called getjobs.dev. And you can advertise your jobs on getjob.dev, and you can link it to a specific organization like the CCC or the CNCF or OpenSSF, you choose. So if you have a CCC related job and you advertise it on GitJobs and you choose the foundation to be CCC, it will now automatically show up on our job page. The advantage of that is it's totally self-service. Members can add and remove jobs as they like. And whenever the job expires, it should fall off the page. And yeah, less work on our side, less paying for updating of the website, and it's all self-service.
Got it. Also, so newsletter and blog submissions, always hungry. That mouth always needs to get fed. So please, you know, did anything happen this past month? If so, write up a paragraph and put in a photo for the newsletter. Or even if you did a technical blog or a how-to blog for your company about a specific thing, let's work together to see how we can adapt it into a blog, or at least a link to a longer blog as part of the CCC stuff. I mean, you got to keep, if we keep these channels fresh and new content coming in regularly, that is what makes them worth engaging on. Okay, Rianne, do you want to talk about elections?
Yes, just before I talk about that, talk about newsworthy things to announce. You would find it on the mailing list all over as well. This morning, we announced that the DStack project has gone through all the legal rigor and of acceptance. They are now officially a CCC project. So go out and see all about DStack, and Dan and Angela's on top of it. They're going to market it throughout with the blog and all the other things. Then switching gears to elections. Outreach Committee elections is coming up. We're going to have the elections in November. I will send an announcement after this and this meeting and the TAC meeting tomorrow saying elections is open. People are welcome to nominate them, or our Premier members are welcome to nominate people for the Outreach Committee chairs. The work will start in January. You are welcome to re-nominate. So Mike and Rachel is welcome to stand again as chair or co-chair, and have the elections in November announced before the end of November. Looking forward to all those submissions via the mailing list.
Excellent. So yes, if you want to get more deeply involved, go ahead and toss your name in the hat. Toss your hat in the ring. Sorry, my metaphors are confused. All right, budget we talked about. Talked about marketing. Okay, the Canopy workshop. This was the one that we did. This was originally the happy hour that we had planned for CC Summit, and then that didn't come together, and so we used the credit at the Hilton Canopy to stage a customer workshop. I would have to chalk this one up as a success, man. We pulled it off. So we had about I'd say the peak in the room was probably about 33, 34, counting everybody. We were probably running about 90% of the capacity of the room. So it did not feel, half empty. It felt like a pretty stacked room. We had speakers from a wide variety of both, CC ecosystem folks, but also, outside experts, end users, talking about a wide variety of different use cases and products and services. the end customer attendees were from a range of different industries, but they unsurprisingly came from some of our big hitters, folks like pharmaceutical research, higher ed and government, healthcare, finance. Even there was a woman there from a DC think tank, working on privacy and security issues. It was, I would say, high engagement. Just about every speaker, we had to pull off the stage because the questions were, kept coming. And just about everyone stayed from start to finish. We had a little bit of fall off in the late afternoon, I think, as a few people bailed to beat the traffic. But in general, we had those that showed up at the beginning, went wire to wire. I would say if I had to criticize the event at all, I think it was like many CC events. It was a little more ecosystem heavy than I had envisioned. I was hoping to have maybe 8 or 9 more end customer folks in the seats than we had, but it was still, I think, even the folks from the ecosystem were really engaged with each other and with the customers that were there. So I think it was a really smart investment, and a good use of our time and money. I want to give monstrous shout outs to Laura Martinez and Matthias Guzzo, without whom this would not have come together. And it was great to see him in San Francisco.
And also massive shout out to Mike Farron-Jones, Angela Liu, and Dan Brown for also supporting us with crazy requests and of unprecedented kind. Yeah, now let's ride the wave of the buzz.
Yes. Okay. Note to anybody who's doing these things in the future. If you have a Linux Foundation virtual credit card that you're going to use to buy something, the billing zip code for Linux Foundation virtual credit cards is the same as the PO box for the Linux Foundation, in Delaware. I was standing in the FedEx office at 8:10 in the morning trying to get our sign from the printers. And I was all ready to go with my Linux Foundation virtual credit card with a number, an expiration date, a security code, but no billing zip code. And I couldn't get out the door until I got that. Very, very exciting. That was probably our biggest logistical hiccup, except for some interesting food choices like bacon being served as an afternoon snack. Who knew? Okay, IDC research update. So the IDC research paper is up for review and comment. I sent a note yesterday afternoon, so folks were saying, hey, I want to review it, but I need more time. So I had planned to close down comments on Thursday, October 30th, and send it back to IDC. That has been extended to start of business next Tuesday. So that is November 2nd? 2nd or 3rd. Anyway, next Tuesday, 8 a.m. I'm going to package it all up and send it to IDC. I have been in there pretty deeply. Nelly has been in there with a lot of comments. Go ahead and take a look. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them there on the doc. I should try and see if I can, whoops. Yeah, let me put that link into the chat so you guys can comment on it in real time. Sorry. Zoom. Zoom bedevils me. All right. Hey, Rianne, can you post that into the Zoom
Give me a moment. I can do that.
chat?
for you.
I'm Zoom challenged.
No worries. I'll grab it.
Thank you. Okay. Now, when you do your feedback too, I think one of the things that you can, it's fair to say, you know, this sentence is phrased strangely, or I would like to see this thing done differently. It is also fair to say that, hey, I think these conclusions need to be brought forward and be more prominent. It is not fair to say we should talk about this other thing that was not included in the original survey questions, because this is a report out on a survey that was run last summer. We want to, we can't go back and resurvey the participants. Okay, OSFF. If Mike Purcell is not here, I don't think we are going to have an update on this unless somebody else was there.
Yeah, I was there. Jens Albers from FrontX. I had one of the speaking slots. Mike had, I think, 3 speaking slots. It was fantastic. It was interesting to see that everyone is dabbling a little bit in confidential computing within AI. That is the biggest topic at the moment in finance for them. And there were, out of the 30 talk streams or so, I think 15 or so touched on confidential computing in some shape or form. So it was really good, very interesting conversations. And
Good.
yeah, enjoyed it.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. You can always give free stuff away. And so I know, Intel, we probably put out, at least 2 of our community architects, for Intel, and probably 3 or 4 customers in on the passes. So yeah, it was good to see a strong confidential computing layout. Hopefully, Mike, when next meeting, we'll be able to provide a little more update. Okay, I think this is old. This is very old.
It's actually up to date because we didn't get a chance to present the September website metrics last time.
Okay, all right. I was looking at the date up on the upper right corner, and so it looked like it was back from an August meeting, but it's all right.
Okay,
Go for
cool.
it, Angela.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So for September, the website saw more than 10K of page views, which is up about 5.6% year over year. And we also had around 6,250 visitors, which is a solid 12% increase compared to last September. It's a nice and steady growth overall. And in terms of what people are looking at, the homepage continues to lead by far, and followed by the members page, then about page, current projects, and white papers and reports rounding out the top 5. And looking at the traffic sources, most of it came through direct visits and referrals, followed by organic search traffic, social traffic, and unassigned traffic. And for devices, we're still seeing a good mix. So roughly half desktop and half mobile, with tablets accounting for less than 1%. And geographically, the US remains the biggest audience, followed by India, China, Germany, and Japan. So overall, the traffic is trending in a healthy direction. Engagement looks stable, and we're continuing to see consistent visibility across key regions. Yep. Any questions?
No.
Cool.
This is, and just so I'm clear, direct is somebody types in confidentialcomputing.io and it goes to the page with intent. Is that how I read direct correctly?
That usually is the case, or type in through the link browser, the top bar when you just search confidentialcomputing.io.
Got it. Okay. All right. Any other business? I think that brings us to, we're at the end of the agenda. So any other business announcements?
I have one business that we skipped, not crucial, but I like us to just discuss whether anybody has any changes to the minutes for the previous meeting. And if nobody has any objections or changes, I will consider the previous minutes approved.
All right. Okay.
My
Finally-
only other thing is just on IDC. It would be great if we could get any insight into how they plan to roll the report out, timing, if they're doing any sort of announcement. Because, you know, we've spent a lot of time and money on this, so I want to make sure that we get the most out of it that we can. So it would be great to have a coordinated launch effort there.
Yeah, and this is, I think, something that a member, I mean, you know, my PR resources got decimated recently. And so I don't even know who to call at Intel to help drive PR on this. I've
Yeah,
folks
no, that's
who
that's
maybe,
included. Thankfully, we get 2 PRs a year in the package that CCC already has, and we haven't used either of those. So
Okay.
LF was happy to take care of that part.
All
We
right.
just need to, obviously we have the draft report, so we can probably start putting something together just based on that. But we want to make sure that we're aligned on timing and not duplicating any efforts that IDC is already doing as well.
Okay, I do think what we would want to do, True, I think, is look through the report and figure out what is the headline here, and you use that as a,
Mhm.
if we're going to do any outreach, you know, what's the pitch to the
Exactly.
reporters? What story do we want them to write? Okay, I think that unless anyone else has any other business, that one will be a wrap for this this meeting. All right. I think that's it then, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And we will catch you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thanks, all.
All right, thanks.